And now to a Meet the Press exclusive, a journey to Guatemala with Kentucky Senator and Dr. Rand Paul. Top Republicans eyeing a run for president in 2016 have spent a lot of time in two key battleground states, 20 visits to Iowa, 10 more to New Hampshire. But so far, only Paul has turned a foreign country into a unique photo op. I accompanied him on his humanitarian mission to Salama, a remote town about 3 hours north of Guatemala City. But as you'll see, his trip to Central America may have been as much about the White House as it was about medicine.
You look good in red, Senator? Yeah, Moran, that'll be fine. I think they're looking for...
In a makeshift operating room in remote Guatemala, a side of Senator Rand Paul most people have never seen. The eye surgeon on a mission to help the blind and near blind see in a country where more than half the population lives in poverty. He's one of 28 American volunteers organized by the Moran Eye Center in Utah.
But this is an amazing enterprise. We have a surgery center, we got a dental clinic, and we've got a place doing glasses.
Scores of people line up every day for a week, hoping American doctors can give them their sight and their lives back. A 79-year-old great-grandmother hasn't been able to walk for 9 years.
She's the cutest thing.
Then cataracts plunged her into darkness. A farmer just wants to see again so he can work in his fields. A mission to restore sight and hope to the poorest of the poor.
Thank you very much.
And if it all plays well to American voters, it could further Rand Paul's personal mission, too, to position himself for a race for president.
I've been doing, this kind of stuff for 20 years.
But not in a foreign country.
Right. Well, I've been operating on kids from Guatemala for, I think the first kids I operated on were 1996. This isn't something new that we're doing. Michelle doesn't feel anything on this side of her face. A physician is who I am, and, to represent who I am, that's who I am. I'm a physician.
But you just won't always bring camera crews.
Well, depicting who I am, I think, is an important part of presenting a face to the public.
There is no doubt about the humanitarian aspect of this trip. Paul performed dozens of pro bono cataract surgeries over 3 days in a region where there are only 2 eye surgeons for 800,000 people. Chronicling it all are Paul's advertising team.
I'm Rand Paul, and I approve this message.
Whose TV commercials helped him with his upset win for Senate 4 years ago. Also along, a film crew from conservative super PAC Citizens United. With equipment that included a drone for aerial shots and its co-founder and president, Dave Bossie. Does having Citizens United Dave Bossie there make it look more political?
I think if having Citizens United documentary unit following him around, whether I was there or not, was going to do it. And so, I went to oversee it. I went to experience and see exactly for myself what Rand Paul was about.
Bossie did some charity work of his own, helping to install a water filtration system. But he spent many hours with Senator Paul and gave advice to the film crew. For Paul, too, long hours in the OR were interspersed with interviews. Multiple conversations with us over 3 days, where nothing was off limits, including the death of Michael Brown and the unrest that followed.
Let's say none of this has to do with race. It might not, but the belief, if you're African American, you live in Ferguson, the belief is you see people in prison and they're mostly black and brown, that somehow it is racial, even if the thoughts that were going on at that time had nothing to do with race. So there's a very good chance that this had nothing to do with race, but because of all of the arrest and the way people were arrested, that everybody perceives it as, my goodness, the police are out to get us, And so that's why you have to change the whole war on drugs. It's not just this one instance. And I don't know what happened during the shooting, so I'm not going to make a judgment on the shooting, but I do know what's happening as far as you look at who's in our prisons.
It's vintage Rand Paul, the sometimes controversial free market, small government, low taxes libertarian with views that can also appeal to the left, pushing for the demilitarization of police days before President Obama called for a review.
Homeland Security gave $8 million to Fargo to fight terrorism in Fargo, North Dakota. And I say, if the terrorists get to Fargo, we might as well give up. I say that as a joke, but it's like, what are we doing spending $8 million in Fargo? What are we doing sending a tank? There's an armored personnel carrier in Keene, New Hampshire.
And at a time when the U.S. footprint in Iraq is expanding again, he's quick to provide a contrast to the Democratic presidential frontrunner.
I think the American public is coming more and more to where I am, and that those people like Hillary Clinton, who She fought her own war, Hillary's war. You know, people are going to find that, and I think that's what scares the Democrats the most, is that in a general election, were I to run, there's going to be a lot of independents and even some Democrats who say, you know what, we are tired of war. We're worried that Hillary Clinton will get us involved in another Middle Eastern war because she's so gung-ho. If you want to see a transformational election in our country, let the Democrats put forward a war hawk like Hillary Clinton, and you'll see a transformation like you've never seen.
Fantástico.
Back inside the hospital, less than 24 hours after surgery, bandages are removed and the reactions are heartwarming, even tear-inducing.
Oh, she was.
Just a day before, a farmer couldn't see through cataract-clouded eyes. Then the eye patches come off. One of more than 200 success stories in a week, lives transformed.
Más claro esto que bueno. Gracias por lo bueno que son con
For all the successes here, Rand Paul was effective but not emotional, something that worries even supporters who know winning primaries is often as much about kissing babies as making policy statements.
He reminds me of doctors I've had who are very matter-of-fact. And I think that's where he gets it, that, you know, he sees a problem, he's trying to fix it, and he moves on.
But you wonder how that'll translate in the campaign trail.
It could be very difficult.
Do you go to
places,
Iowa and not
well,
shake hands?
That's, I think, the next test.
Dr. Paul's enthusiasm for medicine is palpable, and he's a guy who likes his odds when he's the one controlling the outcome. So if he runs for president, it will be because, like here in the OR, he thinks he's got a real chance of winning.
We'll go to work again today.
Before leaving, Senator Paul had a closed-door meeting with the president and prime minister of Guatemala and talked immigration, telling them the immigration problem is not the fault of Guatemala City, but of White House policies. He's also pushing to allow more Americans to adopt Guatemalan children.
It is almost 2015, just days away, and you know what that means. The 2016 presidential race is about to get started, and potentially dozens of presidential hopefuls are expected to declare their official candidacies in the months to come. It's going to be very busy, and one potential frontrunner has already started the wheels of a potential campaign. Jeb Bush, the former Florida governor, who this month launched a pact to explore a presidential run. Well, joining me is Caton Dawson, a National Republican consultant and former chair of the South Carolina GOP, and Tara Dowdell, president of the Tara Dowdell Group and a business and political marketing consultant. We thank you both for being with us. Not that it's 2015 just yet, but you know what? We're getting started here, and especially with Jeb Bush, really kind of launched 2016 campaign with that PAC announcement here. He's also the leading Republican in the field, too. So, Caton, you know, what makes him the front runner?
Certainly the last name.
Yep.
A very popular governor from Florida, big state, father, brother, both presidents of the United States. And the fact that he, certainly when he gets in, he's going to be the leader. The name ID is there. But this feels very unsettled. The reason why you're going to see the speed of this start picking up is there's a tighter schedule than people know of us getting to a nominee June a year from now. So you're going to see an August debate, maybe September debate. So people are going to have to start getting in. There's going to be 10 or 12 of them. It's going to be narrowed down. In March 1 of next year, there's a big Super Tuesday primary, and you're going to start the field get down to 2 or 3.
What do you think it's also because we've been mixing this pot with those same names, that it's Christie, Romney, the same names over and over, and now all of a sudden the ingredient of a Bush is thrown in, and that might make it somewhat appealing for it, Tara?
Well, I think to Caton's point, it's a great point. His last name gives him a huge amount of name recognition, and that's important in any kind of race because you don't have to raise as much money to get your name out there. So that is an advantage in any campaign. I think the other thing is that a lot of these hopefuls have already started campaigning. A lot of them have people on the ground in key battleground states. A lot of them have been organizing since last year, very quietly organizing, making trips there. If you look at Chris Christie from my home state of New Jersey.
Right.
He's been to Iowa, and people in New Jersey will tell you he probably spends more time in Iowa than he does in New Jersey, which is going to be a problem for him.
Okay, back to Jeb, but what's the drawback here? What's going to set him back?
Well, first of all, he's now the leader of this primary.
Right.
So once the campaign staffs are up, and Tara and I know, once they're up and they're ready to go, things will start changing. People have to revert back to Barack Obama's candidacy where nobody knew who he was. So this is one that can really ebb and flow. The Bush pluses are financial network, very popular governor of a very big state, but he's now the leader in small single digits.
Okay, but I want to bring up the GOP polls changed drastically when you add Mitt Romney to the mix here. He's leading everybody, including Jeb. We've got to talk about these 11 points or more here. So is that going to be 2016? Is that going to be Romney? Is this third time the charm for him?
You know, knowing the Romney family and watching him campaign in South Carolina for 2 different cycles, I'd be surprised if Governor Romney got in. I would, because then everything starts over again. And most of these people who've run before understand when the presidential light turns on, the 47%ers are going to come back, the Bain capital is going to come back. Now, Romney has exactly what Tara said. Name ID's instantly there. People really can't name the entire field, even folks that really are in the know. So it's just starting.
All right, it's just starting. Well, maybe not so much when it comes to the Democratic primary field here. Hillary Clinton, you know, far and away the favorite here, and we're talking about numbers pulling at more than 60% here. So Tara, to you here, is she the inevitable Democratic candidate?
Is she formidable? Yes. Is she in a very strong position? Absolutely. Is she inevitable? No.
Okay.
And I think it would be a mistake for Democrats, particularly her team, to treat this as if she's inevitable, because they made that mistake last time, and we see President Obama won. Hillary Clinton needs to get out there, and she needs to fight, and she needs to earn every single one of the Democratic votes.
Well, is that
and
going to
then expand the field?
Well, sure. Is that going to help the Democrats if primary time the Democrats they can't figure it out just yet? Is that going to benefit?
Let me tell you what we have going here. You've got the far right of the Republican Party and the far left of the Democrat Party that want primaries. And Hillary maybe, to her advantage, can't stand the long, protracted primary, because then she's going to, much like it's getting ready to happen to us, she's going to have to placate the left. She's got a problem, because one of the things President Obama has is a very strong base support of supporters. Hillary Clinton's got to be careful with that. She criticized him once and watched the fallout from it. So we're salivating her trying to be coronated.
Well, here's the thing. Salivating, does that include a Bush-Clinton rematch in some sense?
Could be.
Could be.
Well, it could be, but fortunes rise and fall very quickly in politics. That's
we
the one
all
constant.
know, and as we've all watched and covered. Thank you so much. Kate Dawson and Tara Dowdell, this is certainly not the last of these types of discussions we'll have here, so very happy New Year to you both.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.